So as I'm babbling away here, what I'm doing is actually thinking I should actually, and trying to make it so it all fits into the space, you know, the camera space. So let's see, we'll work on that right there. I was trying to see if I could get a larger area. So I'm going to work with the colors that I have in the palette. That's my plan. Let's see, I've got a blue-gray blend in here already from something else, and that'll probably work okay because that'll add more of a shade color. I can add a little Winsor Violet Dioxazine in there if I wanted, or what I'm thinking, if I want a cleaner color, I could go with the Winsor Blue. And I think when I did this painting, that was before I was even using the Winsor Blue red shade or green shade, or you could even use a Prussian blue. Those are cleaner blues. And then maybe, what do I have in here? I think I've got a little permanent rose. Just so anyway, trying to get closer to what I have here. So when you're putting your color in, you've already done it. But if you want to make sure the color, once it dries, test it on a scrap piece of paper, as you know, so we can get the cleanest, brightest pinks and purples. Okay. Personally, I always like the quinacridone magenta. I don't have it in there, so I think that's a permanent rose, so we'll deal with that. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to go ahead and get a little more water in there. I don't necessarily want more heavier color. I'm thinking, do I want to just increase it, or do I want to add the detail? And looking on the screen, I'm thinking that could use probably a little more color. I mean, there's two things that I want to do to it. Either I go ahead and add the detail, or if I want to increase the color, I'm looking at where things dip down already. So I think I might go ahead, but we don't like that. But I don't want to work too large of a space, otherwise it's going to dry faster than I can work. It looks pretty dark on the screen there. Then I'm going to go ahead and soften. And I'll use clean water so it pulls out further. So on the screen, I think it's pretty purple. Now, if you see that little spot there, that has that little pigment line, so I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and pull that out a little further. That's just how I would increase the color. And I'm thinking about those little transparent brush strokes that I was talking about too. Let's try to give it something to focus on. Hopefully it doesn't go cuckoo. And here I'm thinking I've got a little too much water. It might not give me the color intensity that I want. And I'm looking for those little dips in here. Okay, remove that extra water. And I'm just going to soften those edges a little bit. I'm going along the edge. Right here, I removed that extra water, so I don't continue to pull it in. Remove the extra water. Soften those edges. Okay, and so when I'm looking at this, this has just it's still very soft through there, and it doesn't have a real defined brush stroke. It has a softer stroke, but it's starting to add a little more volume to this. Now down here, I think that this is pretty flat, and I could take more time, use more French ultramarine blue, or maybe a little pink. I'm going to add that little bit of pink and purple in here. Thinking about this, do I want to use my 14 or 20? If I use my 14, I'd be happy, but I want to get just a little more shape in this. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use that number 20. I'm going to mix it in with my palette mud a little bit. And the reason why I'm doing that is just because I've got colors here, and I don't want it to all be too purple. Otherwise, the whole flower is going to be really purple. I'm looking for a slight variation. And going into the center, I want to push that back away from those stamens. That It does look pretty purple in there. I work a lot with my palette mud too, just so. So we have some soft strokes in there. And I could have used my 14, but my concern with the 14 would be that it would be too stripy. And then just keep an eye on how I'm using my number 30 brush, getting it wet, and then removing the extra water. Now the other thing that I'm thinking about, should I be concerned about the size stroke that I have here? I think we have enough that breaks it up throughout the rest of the painting that it'll probably be just fine. And if I got the colors over here, now you can see this side compared to that side. Hopefully that makes sense that this has, it just looks more developed than that side. And then let's go ahead and bring some of that color, unless it's only my imagination. So let's go ahead and bring some of that color over onto the other side. And since it's a diptych, I can't do anything on this side, or I just need some space to do it. So all of this, hopefully, is trying to give you an idea of things that I would be thinking about on how to develop this more. But again, I can only work so much on it before it drying, leaving me really hard lines. And I don't want the hard lines like that. I would want them to be really a much lighter value if I decided to leave it that way. Now that's kind of nice, but that doesn't work for this. Okay, and so now you can see how all of this is starting to pull forward. This looks pretty flat in here. And we need to get our dots in there. I think I want to maybe cup this over a little more, and this will be the last thing I do, and then we'll go ahead and look at the other paintings. So I'm going back into my blend. I'm mingling my blues in with my purples and a little bit of brown, whatever I have in my palette. And I'm debating if I want to use the 14 or the 20. Why don't I just give it a try with the 14? I think the problem with the 14, I'm changing to the 20. The problem with the 14, it's going to dry faster. It's not necessarily faster than I can work, but that means I have to hustle a little bit, and I may not want to work as fast. Okay. I know, doesn't that look beautiful? And then I'm going to go ahead and soften that edge. All right, now I'm going to decide, do I want to leave it that way, reshape it? What do I want to do with this? Remove that extra water. Okay, so anyway, what's happening here is that is just not much color, but it's slightly tinted more than that highlight there, which can push it away from this. And if I look at this and this, all of this needs a bit more color. But it's a painting that's in development. And let's see if we can kind of sort of put it together. Okay, so hopefully that made sense in there. I would let's see. I want to give you a little a ripple in there. Now this is still semi-damp. I would like it to be really much drier, but I'm going to work with what I have. And I may decide to add a few little brush strokes in here. And then, because I want to give it more of a ripple, sometimes I'll leave it like that, but here I think I'm going to go ahead and soften the top edge or the straightest edge. Just to give it some shape. That's all I'm thinking about. And then we'd have to develop that. So was that helpful for you there? Did that help?
Yes, it does. It's just that putting that extra detail in, you put the colour on, then you take it off. It's that scary thing. Am I going to mess it up if I put some more colour in there?
I know. That's why I wanted to, that's why I wanted to show you.